The cool Connecticut autumn air often whispers tales of change, but for Barbara, it was a season that screamed betrayal. Her own flesh and blood, the children she had poured her very soul into, had delivered a blow colder than any winter chill. "We're too busy for your drama, Mom. Handle it yourself." The words, sharp and dismissive, still echoed in the quiet corners of her mind. These were the children she had raised with boundless love, sacrificed her dreams for, and worked tirelessly to put through college. Yet, when she needed them most, facing a family crisis that threatened to unravel her, they couldn't spare a single afternoon. They called her pain drama. So, Barbara did precisely what they instructed. She handled it herself. With a quiet resolve forged in decades of resilience, she revised her entire will, a monumental decision she kept locked away, a secret beneath the surface of her everyday life. 6 months later, the scene was set. Her children, Jennifer, Michael, and Rachel, burst through the doors of the beloved lake house, keys practically clutched in their entitled hands, as if the property was already their birthright. Instead, they found her estate attorney, David Morrison, seated serenely in the living room, briefcase open, documents meticulously fanned across the coffee table. The expressions that bloomed on their faces at that moment, a cocktail of confusion, dawning horror, and profound shock, would forever be etched in Barbara's memory. A silent masterpiece of consequence.
Before I go on, I want to ask something of you. Where are you watching from today? I love picturing the towns, the kitchens, the cozy chairs where people like you sit and hear my story. It makes me feel less alone in all this.
My name is Barbara, and I'm 72 years old. Connecticut has been my home my entire life, a backdrop to the tapestry of my journey. After my husband passed away when I was 45, I embraced the challenging yet deeply rewarding role of a single mother, raising 3 children. For 33 years, I found purpose and quiet joy as a school librarian, surrounded by stories and the eager minds of children, before finally retiring. I've always found solace in connection, in knowing I'm not alone. And as my story unfolds, I hope you'll share a little of yours, perhaps just your state or country in the comments. It means the world to know we're sharing this space. This saga, however, began not with a bang, but with a whisper of fear. It was a crisp Tuesday morning in March when I dialed Jennifer, my eldest. At 48, she's a fixture in Boston's finance world, perpetually on the go. "Always busy," was her mantra, a shield against any unexpected demand. I needed to talk about something profoundly serious. My younger sister, Patricia, my confidant and lifelong companion, had just received a devastating diagnosis: stage 4 cancer. She was only 67, vibrant and full of life just months before. The news hit me like a physical blow, a freight train of grief and terror. "Jennifer, honey, I really need to talk," I finally managed when she answered on the 3rd try. "It's about Aunt Patricia." Her response was immediate, clipped. "Mom, I'm literally walking into a meeting. Can this wait?" My voice trembled. "It's important. She's very sick." A sigh, exasperated. "Look, I'll call you this weekend, okay? I really can't do this right now." The line went dead. She had hung up. I sat in my kitchen, the cold phone still pressed to my ear, tears silently forming. I tried to rationalize it, to cushion the blow. "She's just stressed. Work pressure," I whispered to myself. Next, I tried Michael, my son. 45, living in New Jersey, immersed in software development. We'd always shared a good relationship, or so I thought. Surely, he would understand. Michael's response, however, was worse, a chilling echo of his sister's dismissiveness, laced with an almost clinical detachment. "Mom, you know I love you, but you call about something being wrong every other week. Last month it was your neighbor's tree falling. The month before that, your furnace. I have 3 kids, a demanding job, and Rachel is barely speaking to me because I work so much. I can't be your crisis hotline." My heart sank further. "Michael, this isn't about a tree or a furnace. This is about your aunt. She's dying, and I need—" He cut me off, cold and swift. Then call hospice. Call her doctors. Call literally anyone else. I'm too busy for this drama right now. Handle it yourself. Handle it yourself. Those 3 words reverberated, a stark, painful anthem in my head, long after he disconnected. My youngest, Rachel, 41, a high school teacher in Philadelphia, didn't even pick up. 3 calls, 3 voicemails. I spent that entire day crying, not just for Patricia, though her imminent loss was a crushing weight. I cried because the 3 people I had devoted my entire life to couldn't spare 15 minutes to share my grief, to offer a moment of comfort. The memories flooded in. Jennifer's marriage dissolving 8 years ago, me driving to Boston every weekend for 3 months to help with her children, Michael losing his job during the recession, me secretly paying his mortgage for 6 agonizing months. Rachel's mental breakdown in her first year of teaching, me taking a leave of absence to stay by her side. Every single time, it was me. But now, it seemed, I had become an inconvenience. My problems were drama. My desperate need for emotional support was too much to ask. Fine, if they wanted me to handle things myself, then that's exactly what I would do. The very next morning, a different kind of resolve solidified within me. I called David Morrison, my estate attorney, the same man who had helped me navigate the legalities after my husband's death. Since then, my will had remained simple, everything split 3 ways among my children. The lake house in Vermont, the one my husband and I had bought 40 years ago, a sanctuary lovingly maintained, where every summer unfolded with laughter and childhood dreams, that was meant to be their joint legacy. My savings, retirement accounts, the very house I lived in, all destined to be divided equally. "David, I need to schedule an appointment," I told him, my voice steady, though a tremor of emotion still lurked beneath the surface. "I want to completely revise my will." His voice, infused with genuine concern, paused. "Barbara, is everything all right?" "Everything's fine," I asserted, perhaps a little too quickly. "I just need to make some changes. Significant changes." We met that Friday. I walked into his office with a clarity that felt both liberating and heavy, a profound shift in perspective. I wasn't doing this out of simple spite, I told myself. It was something deeper. My children had, in their own dismissive ways, shown me precisely how little they valued our relationship, their priorities stark and undeniable. "I want to remove my children as primary beneficiaries," I stated, the words forming a path to a new future. "The lake house goes to Patricia's daughter, Emma. My niece has always loved that place. She actually visits me. She calls just to check in. She even brought me soup last winter when I had pneumonia, without me even asking." David, a seasoned attorney of 30 years, remained unblinking. He had undoubtedly witnessed countless family dramas, where love, or the lack thereof, twisted inheritances into instruments of consequence. "And the rest of your estate?" he inquired, pen poised. "I'm setting up charitable trusts," I continued, detailing my vision. "The local library system, where I worked for 3 decades, the Cancer Research Foundation treating Patricia, the women's shelter where I volunteer. My retirement accounts can fund scholarships for single mothers returning to school. My house can be sold, and the proceeds split between these organizations." "And for my children?" "They each receive $1,000, I concluded, a precise, deliberate sum. Just enough that they can't claim I forgot about them or that I wasn't of sound mind. I want it absolutely clear that this was intentional." David nodded slowly, making meticulous notes. "Barbara," he said, his gaze empathetic, "I have to ask, are you certain about this? Estate decisions made in emotional distress can sometimes be regretted later." I looked him straight in the eye, conviction ringing in my voice. "I've never been more certain of anything in my life. They told me to handle it myself, so I am." Over the next 3 weeks, David and his team drafted everything with meticulous care. We included specific provisions designed to make contesting the will a legal Everest. I underwent a cognitive assessment with a highly respected psychologist, the results meticulously documenting my sound mind. We even video recorded me, calm and articulate, explaining my decisions, leaving no room for doubt that no one had coerced or manipulated me. This was my choice, made with full awareness and unwavering intention. The hardest part wasn't the decision itself, but the agonizing silence of keeping it. Every superficial call from Jennifer about her vacation plans, every obligatory monthly text from Michael asking, "How are you doing?" sent a tremor of resentment through me. Rachel remained largely absent, her sporadic appearances always accompanied by some excuse about being overwhelmed. Not one of them visited, not once, during those agonizing months when Patricia was declining so rapidly. Instead, I spent countless hours at her bedside, holding her hand, navigating doctor appointments, managing medications. Emma, my wonderful niece, was there too, having taken time off work to care for her mother. We cried together, shared laughter over cherished memories, and sat in comfortable silence during the hardest, most heart-wrenching days. Patricia passed away in late May, just 8 weeks after her diagnosis. The funeral, held on a beautiful Saturday morning, offered a stark illustration of my children's priorities. Jennifer arrived late, her phone an almost constant companion throughout the service. Michael attended, but left almost immediately afterward, claiming an urgent soccer game. Rachel came, but spent half the reception complaining about her principal. "This must be so hard for you, Mom," Jennifer said, offering a fleeting, almost perfunctory hug. "Losing your sister." I wanted to scream the truth. You know what was hard? Calling you when I found out she was sick and being told I was being dramatic. But I just nodded, the words heavy on my tongue. "Yes, it is." "Hey, we should talk soon about the lake house," Michael interjected as he made his swift exit. "Rachel and I were thinking maybe this summer we could all use it more. The kids are getting older, and it'd be nice to have that family time." The lake house. Of course, that's what occupied their minds at their aunt's funeral. Not my profound grief, not the 2 harrowing months I'd spent watching my only sister fade away. No, it was the property, the inheritance, what they could get their hands on. "We'll talk later," I said simply, my voice carefully neutral. "Actually, Mom, I've been meaning to bring this up too," Rachel added, suddenly appearing beside Michael. "Now that you're getting older, maybe it makes sense to start talking about your estate planning. You know, just to make sure everything's organized for your peace of mind." My peace of mind? They hadn't spared a thought for my peace of mind when I was falling apart over Patricia's diagnosis. But now that their inheritance was at stake, suddenly my well-being mattered. "Everything's already organized," I told them, a faint, almost imperceptible smile playing on my lips. "I met with my estate attorney months ago. It's all handled." "Oh, good," Jennifer chimed in, joining the conversation, her relief almost palpable. "So, the house and the lake property are all set up to transfer smoothly? It's all legally documented?" "You don't need to worry about any of it," I confirmed, letting my words hang in the air, allowing them to interpret them as they wished. They seemed satisfied, assuming all handled meant everything was neatly packaged for their taking. They had no idea what I had actually done. As summer settled in, their sense of entitlement only swelled, becoming more blatant, more brazen. Jennifer, with an astonishing lack of self-awareness, began making plans for renovating the lake house, texting me pictures of sleek, modern furniture, asking my opinion, but never my permission. She was already treating it as her property. "I think we should update the kitchen first," she declared in a family group chat in July. "Those appliances are from the 90s. Michael, you good with splitting the cost? We can talk about timelines once Mom transfers the deed." Michael's curt reply, "Sounds good." Rachel, ever the pragmatist when it came to assets, chimed in, "Mom, what's the process for transferring the property? Do we need to involve lawyers, or can we just handle it at the county office? Are we selling Mom's house too, or waiting? Just thinking about timing with the market." I stared at my phone, reading these messages in stunned disbelief. They were actively planning the distribution of my estate as if I were already gone, a ghost in my own home. I was sitting in my living room, very much alive, watching them carve up my life's work and assets via text message. I didn't respond to the group chat. Instead, I called Emma. "How are you holding up?" I asked, my voice soft, concerned. She had been struggling immensely with her mother's death, and I had been checking in regularly, a small lifeline in her grief. "Some days are harder than others," she admitted, her voice fragile but steady. "But I'm managing. How about you, Aunt Barbara?" "I'm okay," I replied, taking a deep breath. "Listen, I wanted to tell you something. I've made some changes to my estate planning, and the lake house is going to you." There was a long, stunned silence on the other end of the line. "What? Aunt Barbara? I don't know what to say. Are you sure? What about Jennifer, Michael, and Rachel?" "I'm completely sure," I affirmed, the conviction in my voice unwavering. "That house holds memories of your mother, of our summers together. You've always loved it, and you've always respected it. It should go to someone who values it for what it is, not for its market value, not just as a commodity." "I'm honored, truly," Emma said, her voice thick with emotion. "But won't this cause problems with your kids?" "That's my concern, not yours," I assured her. "I just wanted you to know. Don't mention it to anyone yet. When the time comes, you'll receive all the documentation." The call ended, leaving me with a sense of quiet satisfaction, a small victory in a battle of wills. August rolled into September, and with each passing week, the demands from my children intensified, taking on a more predatory tone. Jennifer wanted to plan a family meeting about my finances. Michael suggested I sell my beloved house and move into a retirement community, freeing up assets for them to access. Rachel, ever efficient, started sending links to financial advisors who specialized in senior estate transitions. None of them visited. None of them called to simply ask how I was coping with Patricia's death. Every single conversation circled back to money, property, and their expectations. The underlying message was clear. My value was tied to my assets. Then came October, a month usually painted with vibrant foliage and crisp, inviting air, but for me, it arrived shrouded in a palpable tension. I was enjoying a quiet Sunday afternoon, lost in a book, when the crunch of tires on my gravel driveway jolted me back to reality. Looking out the window, I saw all three of their vehicles, a synchronized ambush. They hadn't told me they were coming. They simply showed up, a united front, clearly executing a pre-planned offensive. Before I could even reach the door, they were walking in, Jennifer leading the charge, followed by Michael and Rachel. They carried papers, actual printed documents, clutched in their hands like weapons. "Mom, we need to talk," Jennifer announced, barely offering a greeting. "We've drawn up some paperwork to make things easier." I stood in my own entryway, a fortress invaded, watching my three children, uninvited, carrying papers they'd prepared without my knowledge or consent. The audacity was breathtaking. "Papers for what, exactly?" I asked, my voice a delicate balance of calm and steel. Michael stepped forward, assuming the role of the reasonable son. "Look, Mom, we love you, but we've been talking, and we think it's time to be practical. You're 72. You're alone in this big house." Rachel chimed in. "I found a really nice assisted living facility." "I don't need assisted living," I interrupted, my patience fraying. "I'm perfectly capable." "Let me finish," Michael insisted, a hint of irritation in his tone. "We're not saying you need it now, but eventually you will, and it makes sense to start planning. These papers would give us power of attorney and allow us to help manage your finances and property. It's for your protection." "My protection?" I repeated, a bitter taste in my mouth. "Or your convenience." Jennifer's expression hardened, her veneer of concern cracking. "Don't be difficult about this. We're trying to help you. We've all talked to lawyers." "You've talked to lawyers about my estate without including me in the conversation?" I questioned, the incredulity evident in my voice. "Because we knew you'd react like this," Rachel shot back, her voice sharp, getting all emotional and defensive. "We're your children. We're looking out for you." "Looking out for me?" The words ignited a fiery indignation within me. "When was the last time any of you looked out for me? When Patricia was dying? Where were you? When I called you, heartbroken and terrified? What did you tell me?" The room fell into a sudden, shocked silence. They clearly hadn't expected me to bring that up, to shatter their carefully constructed narrative. "That was different," Jennifer finally stammered, her gaze shifting uncomfortably. "You were being overly dramatic." "My sister was dying of cancer," I retorted, my voice rising. "I needed my children, and you told me I was dramatic and to handle it myself, so that's exactly what I did." "What does that mean?" Michael's eyes narrowed, a flicker of genuine concern now mixed with suspicion. "It means I handled my affairs like you told me to." "Okay, yes, we could have been more supportive during that time," Rachel admitted, though her tone suggested a grudging concession rather than genuine remorse, a tactic to de-escalate. "But this is about your future, about making sure you're taken care of." "I am taken care of," I stated, my resolve hardening. "Everything is arranged." "Then it should be easy to sign these papers," Jennifer said, extending the documents toward me, a thinly veiled demand. "They just formalize what we've already been discussing. Transfer the lake house deed to all three of us now so we can start managing it properly. Set up joint accounts so we can help with bills." "Get out of my house," I commanded, my voice resonating with an authority they had rarely heard. They froze, stunned by my sudden, unequivocal demand. "Mom," Michael started, his voice laced with disbelief. "I said, get out. You come into my home, uninvited, with legal documents you've prepared behind my back, trying to manipulate me into signing over my property and finances. Get out now." "You're being completely unreasonable." Jennifer's voice rose, a shrill edge of outrage. "We're your children. Everything you have should go to us anyway. We're just trying to make the process easier." "For yourselves?" I countered, my voice cutting through her bluster. "You're trying to make it easier for yourselves, not for me. You don't give a damn about me." "That's not fair," Rachel cried out, her face flushed. "We're busy, but we care about you." "You're busy," I scoffed, a bitter laugh escaping me. "You're always busy, but never too busy to show up demanding my assets. Now leave before I call the police." They didn't leave immediately. They stood there, stunned by my defiance, by the fact that I wasn't caving to their pressure. Jennifer looked at Michael, clearly expecting him to take charge, to talk sense into me. Michael looked at Rachel, perhaps hoping her teacher voice could somehow diffuse the volatile situation. "Mom, if you don't cooperate with this, we'll have to take legal action," Jennifer said coldly, the mask finally dropping completely. "We can petition the court to have you declared incompetent." There it was, the thinly veiled threat, now laid bare. This wasn't about my well-being or my care. This was about control. This was about getting their hands on my estate while I was still alive. I walked calmly to my phone, my hands steady now, fueled by righteous anger. "I'm calling the police. You have 30 seconds to leave my property." "You're insane," Rachel hissed, her face contorted in disbelief. "We're your family." "Family doesn't treat each other like this," I countered, my voice unwavering. "Family doesn't show up with legal papers to steal someone's property. Family doesn't threaten their own mother." I started dialing. That's when they finally moved, gathering their papers, throwing angry, hateful looks my way. Jennifer stopped at the door, her eyes blazing. "You're going to regret this. We're done trying to help you. When you need us, don't bother calling." "I haven't been able to count on calling you for years," I replied, the truth stinging like cold metal. "This changes nothing." They left, tires squealing as their vehicles sped away. I locked the door behind them, my hands shaking with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. I had stood up to them, finally. But I knew this wasn't over. Jennifer's threat about legal action was real, a shadow now cast over my newfound peace. I immediately called David Morrison. "They just tried to ambush me with power of attorney papers," I told him, my voice still trembling. "They threatened to have me declared incompetent." "Did you sign anything?" His voice was sharp, focused, instantly in lawyer mode. "No, I threw them out, but they're going to escalate." "Good. Don't sign anything." Don't agree to any meetings with them alone, and document everything. Every text, every call, every interaction. We need a meticulous record. Over the next 6 weeks, they tried everything. Jennifer sent certified letters claiming I was a danger to myself. Michael contacted my doctor, attempting to procure medical records that would support a competency hearing. Rachel showed up at my house twice more, each time deploying different strategies, first apologetic and manipulative, then angry and accusatory. I documented everything, just as David instructed. I installed security cameras. I saved every text message, every email, every voicemail. They were building a case against me, but I was building a stronger case showing their harassment and their transparent financial motivations. The nastiest part came in early December. Jennifer, a rare social media user, posted a long, emotionally charged message about her declining mother, who was refusing help and making irrational decisions. She artfully painted herself as the devoted daughter dealing with a difficult, possibly senile parent. Friends and distant relatives, genuinely concerned, started reaching out to me, offering to talk sense into me about accepting help. The manipulation was sophisticated, insidious. They were poisoning the well, meticulously constructing a narrative where they were the caring children, and I was the problem. But they made one critical mistake. They underestimated me. They assumed I was a helpless old woman who would eventually crack under pressure. They didn't account for the fact that I'd spent 33 years as a school librarian, navigating the complex worlds of difficult teenagers, manipulative parents, and intricate administrative politics. I knew how to document, how to build a case, and crucially, how to stay 3 steps ahead. In mid-December, Jennifer sent a text to the family group chat, a direct challenge. "We're coming to the lake house this weekend. We've decided it's time to start using it properly. Mom's clearly not maintaining it. We need the keys." That was it. That was the moment I'd been waiting for, the clear, undeniable demand I could use to finally bring this to a head. I responded immediately, with deliberate precision. "The lake house is not available. You are not welcome there." The flurry of texts that followed was predictable, a desperate chorus of entitlement. "Jennifer, it's our inheritance. Stop being selfish." "Michael, we're coming whether you like it or not. We deserve access to that property." "Rachel, you can't keep us out of our own future. We're all beneficiaries." I didn't respond. Instead, I called David. "They're planning to show up at the lake house this Saturday. They think they have rights to it." "Perfect," David said, a note of satisfaction in his voice. "I'll be there. Let's finally settle this." Saturday morning arrived, gray and cool, matching the tension in my chest. I drove to the lake house early, my heart pounding a steady rhythm against my ribs. David arrived shortly after, briefcase in hand, his presence a comforting anchor. We set up in the living room, the same living room where my husband and I had watched our children grow up during countless summer vacations, where we'd played board games, roasted marshmallows, and created the kind of memories that were supposed to mean something. We waited. David reviewed documents while I made coffee, trying to keep my hands from shaking. Around 11 o'clock a.m., we heard the unmistakable sound of vehicles approaching. All 3 of them had come, just as I expected. Jennifer's sleek SUV, Michael's robust truck, Rachel's practical sedan. They'd brought their families, too. I could see grandchildren in the vehicles, their young faces innocent and unaware of the drama unfolding. They had assumed this would be a triumphant celebration, a family weekend at their lake house. They probably planned to change the locks after this visit, perhaps even start moving furniture out, staking their claim. I watched through the window as they emerged, laughing, carrying bags and coolers. Jennifer was already on her phone, likely photographing the house for her imaginary renovation plans. Michael was pointing at the dock, talking animatedly to his teenage son. Rachel was unloading enough groceries for a week. They walked up to the front door. Jennifer tried her key, an old copy I'd forgotten she had from years ago. It didn't work. I'd changed the locks months ago, right after my meeting with David. She knocked, confused, then knocked again, louder. "Mom, are you in there?" I opened the door. The expression on her face when she saw David, sitting there in his crisp suit, briefcase open, legal documents spread across the coffee table. I'll treasure that moment forever. "What's he doing here?" Jennifer demanded, her voice sharp with suspicion. "Barbara asked me to be present," David said calmly, his gaze steady. "Please come in. We have some things to discuss." They filed in slowly, their initial confusion morphing into palpable suspicion. Michael's wife wisely stayed outside with the kids, sensing this was not going to be the idyllic family weekend they'd envisioned. My children stood in the lake house living room, staring at the documents spread across the coffee table. David remained seated, professional and composed. I stood by the fireplace, my hands clasped tightly in front of me, a small battle against the trembling. "What is this?" Michael asked, his voice tight, laced with a growing apprehension. "This is your mother's revised estate plan," David stated, his tone matter-of-fact. "She asked me to review it with all of you today, given your recent demands regarding her property." "Revised?" Jennifer's face went pale, a dawning comprehension chilling her features. "I revised my entire will in March," I said quietly, the words dropping like stones into the heavy silence. "Right after you all told me to handle my problems myself. So I did." Rachel looked frantically between David and me. "What are you talking about? March was months ago. You never said anything." "I didn't need to say anything," I replied, my voice gaining strength. "You made it very clear that my concerns weren't important to you. You were too busy for my drama, so I handled my affairs quietly and legally without burdening you with the details." David opened a folder and pulled out the crucial documents. "I'll get straight to the point. Barbara has removed all three of you as primary beneficiaries of her estate. The lake house has been designated to go to Emma Patterson, her niece. The remainder of the estate, including Barbara's primary residence and financial assets, will be distributed to various charitable organizations and trusts." The silence that followed was deafening, a vacuum of unspoken shock. Jennifer grabbed the edge of the coffee table, as if bracing herself, her legs threatening to give way. "You're giving the lake house to Emma? Our lake house?" "It was never your lake house," I said firmly, reclaiming my truth. "It was mine and your father's. We bought it. We maintained it. We paid for it. The fact that you summered here as children doesn't make it yours." "This is insane!" Michael's voice rose, a torrent of anger beginning to break through. "You can't cut us out of your will because we were busy when you called about Aunt Patricia." "This isn't about one phone call," I shot back, the dam of my composure finally cracking. "This is about years of being treated like an inconvenience. This is about you telling me I was dramatic when my sister was dying. This is about you showing up here demanding keys to a property you don't own. This is about you trying to force me to sign power of attorney papers so you could control my money while I'm still alive." "We were trying to help you," Rachel shouted, her voice shrill. "Help me?" I laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. "You were trying to help yourselves. Every single conversation for the past year has been about my estate, my property, what you'll inherit. Not once did any of you call just to see how I was doing. Not once did any of you visit just to spend time with me. Everything was about what you could get." Jennifer turned to David, her eyes blazing with a desperate, calculating fury. "This won't hold up in court. She's clearly not of sound mind. We'll contest it." David didn't even blink. He had anticipated this. I anticipated that argument. Barbara underwent a full cognitive evaluation by a licensed psychologist. She scored exceptionally well. We also have video documentation of her explaining her decisions clearly and rationally. Additionally, I have detailed records of your attempts to coerce her, including the power of attorney incident and your social media posts questioning her competency. Michael's face turned a deep, furious red. "So that's it? You're punishing us because we didn't drop everything whenever you had a crisis?" "You're still not listening," I said, my voice breaking slightly, the underlying pain finally surfacing. "I'm not punishing you. I'm protecting myself, and I'm honoring people who actually care about me. Emma was there for Patricia. She's been there for me. The charities I'm supporting meant something to me and your father. These are my choices, made with a clear mind and a full heart." "What about us?" Rachel asked, tears finally forming in her eyes. "We're your children. We raised families. We have expenses. We were counting on my death," I interrupted, the harsh truth piercing the air. "You were counting on me dying so you could cash in. Do you hear yourselves? You're not mourning the relationship we've lost. You're mourning the inheritance." David pulled out another document, its crisp edges almost symbolic of the stark reality it held. "Each of you will receive exactly $1,000 from Barbara's estate. That's enough to prevent you from claiming she forgot you, or that the will was executed in error. It's a deliberate, documented decision." Jennifer laughed bitterly, a sound devoid of humor. $1,000, after everything. "After everything," I repeated, matching her intensity. "Let me tell you about everything. Everything is that I paid for your education. Everything is that I took care of you through every crisis. Everything is 30 years of birthdays and holidays and sacrifices. And what did I get in return? Being told I'm too dramatic, being ignored, being treated like an ATM with a pulse." "This is revenge," Michael said flatly, his voice devoid of emotion. "You're a vindictive, bitter old woman." "Maybe I am," I acknowledged, looking at each of them in turn, a profound sadness mingling with my resolve. "Or maybe I'm just someone who finally learned that blood doesn't obligate me to tolerate being treated like garbage. You taught me that lesson. You taught me that being busy is more important than being kind, that phone calls are interruptions instead of connections, that your mother's grief is drama, but your inheritance demands are reasonable." David stood up, calmly collecting his documents, signaling the end of the excruciating confrontation. "This meeting is concluded. The will is legal, filed, and ironclad. Barbara is of sound mind and body, and she has every right to distribute her estate as she sees fit. I'd advise against any legal challenges. They'll be expensive and unsuccessful, and they'll only further damage your relationship with your mother." "What relationship?" Jennifer spat, her face contorted. "She just destroyed any relationship we had." "No," I said softly, the pain in my voice now undeniable. "You destroyed it months ago. You just didn't notice because you weren't paying attention. You never paid attention unless you wanted something from me." They started to leave, Michael grabbing Rachel's arm, Jennifer walking out first with her head held high, a desperate attempt to maintain some semblance of dignity. At the door, Rachel turned back, her eyes red, swollen. "Was it worth it, losing your children over money?" "I didn't lose my children over money," I replied, my voice steady despite the ache in my heart. "I lost my children long before that. I just finally stopped pretending I hadn't." They left. The door closed. The house, once filled with their angry accusations and my quiet resolve, fell silent. David and I stood there for a moment, the immense weight of what had just happened settling around us. "Are you all right?" David asked gently, his concern genuine. I nodded, wiping away tears I hadn't realized had fallen. "I am. For the first time in a long time, I actually am." David packed up his briefcase, giving me a moment to compose myself. "You did the right thing, Barbara. I've seen many estate disputes in my career, but I've rarely seen someone handle it with as much dignity as you just did." "I don't feel dignified," I admitted, a weary sigh escaping me. "I feel exhausted." "That's normal," he assured me. "But you stood your ground. You protected yourself. That takes immense courage." He handed me a card. "If they contact you, and they probably will, don't engage alone. Call me first. Document everything. And remember, you don't owe them explanations or apologies." After David left, I sat in the living room for a long time, looking out at the tranquil lake through the window. This house held so many memories, a lifetime of cherished moments. My husband teaching the kids to fish off the dock, summer barbecues sizzling with laughter, late-night conversations on the porch, the echo of children's laughter through the halls. But those children had grown into adults I barely recognized, adults who valued my money more than my presence, my assets more than my affections. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Aunt Barbara, are you okay? Jennifer just called me screaming about the will. I told her I didn't want to be in the middle of this." I called her back, my heart aching for her, caught in the crossfire. "Don't worry about being in the middle," I reassured her. "This is my decision, and I stand by it. You've been kind to me. You were there for your mother. The house should go to someone who loves it for the right reasons." "I'm honored, truly," she said, still sounding shaken. "But I'm worried about you. Are you safe? Are they harassing you?" "I'm fine," I told her, a newfound strength in my voice. "My attorney is handling everything. How are you doing? I know this must be stressful for you too." We talked for an hour, about her mother, about grief, about navigating the path forward. It reminded me what real connection felt like, not transactional, not conditional, just genuine care between two people who valued each other for who they were. The following weeks were quiet, a serene calm after the storm. My children didn't reach out. No calls, no texts, no attempts at reconciliation. They had shown their true priorities, and now that those priorities were denied, they had no use for me. Part of me grieved that stark reality, the final death of a dream of family togetherness. But a larger part of me felt an immense, overwhelming relief. I spent Christmas with Emma and her family. We cooked together, exchanged modest gifts, and watched old movies, creating new, authentic memories. It wasn't the big, boisterous family gathering I'd once imagined for my golden years, but it was warm, real, and refreshingly free of ulterior motives. In January, I received a formal letter from Jennifer's attorney, a final, futile threat to contest the will. David responded with our comprehensive documentation, the psychological evaluation, the video testimony, the meticulous records of their coercion attempts. The challenge was dropped within 2 weeks. They knew they couldn't win. The lake house sits, waiting for Emma, maintained and cherished. My estate will fund scholarships and research and support for people who truly need it, people who would cherish the opportunities it provides. My life feels lighter now, unburdened by the crushing weight of children who saw me as an inheritance rather than a person. I handled it myself, just like they told me to. And in doing so, I reclaimed my dignity, my autonomy, and my peace. Sometimes, the hardest part of love is recognizing when it's become one-sided and having the courage to stop giving to people who only know how to take. That's my story. Thanks for listening.